Hey guys, thanks for stopping by to watch another video here at All I See is W, where we talk about stocks, Bitcoin, and finance, where the goal is to gain on positive proceeds and lead with an altruistic mindset. Now, in today's video, I'd like to cover overall Bitcoin market updates. We'll go through the price action, what my price forecast is for Bitcoin in the year 2025. We'll also talk about a Bitcoin mining titan that is Marathon Holdings, ticker MARA. Now, a lot of what we're thinking about is, is now a good time to buy Bitcoin? Is it time to sell or even hold Bitcoin? Now, also with Mara, is it now to buy Mara? Is it time to hold? Is it time to sell? We'll cover all of those details. I'll share with you overall updates with what's going on with the Bitcoin market as well as price action with technical and fundamental analysis. If you're new to this channel, I would really appreciate your support by subscribing and liking this video. Let's get started, guys. First off, would like to just talk about the overall HODL count. We're looking at total treasuries for all of the uh, companies around the world here. So we see MSTR. We all know MSTR is the kingpin. They have the most amount of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. They have about 447,000 Bitcoin on their reserve, and their average cost is somewhere around the 60,000. So once Bitcoin breaks through that $120,000, that nearly just goes up by 100% in gain. With Bitcoin currently today at 94,000, but I still think that we're not out of the woods yet. We may see some volatility, but we do know that inauguration is coming up. After next week's day of trading, we're going to have MAGA Donald Trump be entering the White House, and we're going to have a pro-Bitcoin president of the United States. And that's really going to add value to these North American companies. With Mara here, we have Mara at number two company with 40, close to 45,000 Bitcoin. And number three, we have Riot Platforms. But that just gives you an overall update. Looking at Mara, for example, they're number one in HODL count right now. And a lot of the different companies, you look at Tesla, they're not even close, as well as Coinbase. But they've created that disparity where they are actually the number one Bitcoin miner right now with the biggest HODL count as well as the biggest hash rate right now. So Mara, they're mining at high capacity at like 1, 2 Bitcoins per hour. They're really racking in all of the Bitcoin right now, especially with about, less than 2 million Bitcoins out there. But let's also just take a look at this article here in that spot. Bitcoin ETFs marks the first anniversary with among the top 20. So we know that IBIT, which was created by BlackRock just in 2024, was the best performing Bitcoin ETF among all 4,000 exchange traded funds, according to Bloomberg updates. And the fund actually has 52 billion. Now, is the steam going to stop? I'm thinking no, because the birth of these recent ETFs, it's barely the beginning. Inflows are happening. People are allocating investments in their ETFs from the stock ETFs now into uh, Bitcoin related ETFs. So they're really taking a hedge here. We also have ARKB as well as BITB ETFs, which has been recently implemented and they're doing really well as well. But overall, that just shows the overall sentiment with Bitcoin. The largest Bitcoin ETFs with IBIT and FBTC, that represented overall 4% of the global 1.14 trillion flows. That just gives you an overall update. Both funds ranked among the top 20, with IBIT being bested only by two traditional finance giants. That's iShares Core S&P 500 ETF IVV and Vanguard 500 ETF VOO. So that just shows that people now believe in Bitcoin and they're trying to hedge getting into an ETF that has Bitcoin on their reserve. And that's why that solidifies the price of Bitcoin to go up at one point. You see all of these institutions like BlackRock, Vanguard trying to hodl more Bitcoin so that they can expand their ETFs. that just shows that Bitcoin overall demand is going to increase. And another milestone is that Bitcoin ETFs surpass gold ETFs. I mean, just with the birth of Bitcoin ETFs by just dominating the ETF market, as well as just bypassing gold. In their best year, gold inched closer to 30 billion in inflows, which is way below what Bitcoin ETFs registered in their first year. That just shows people they they like the volatility. They understand that the rate of return is much better with Bitcoin ETFs, and for those reasons, we're seeing diversification into these Bitcoin ETFs. But overall, what does that mean, right? All of this has potential to really drive up the price of Bitcoin. So is now a time to buy, hold, or even sell Bitcoin? I'm thinking now's a great opportunity to either dollar cost average down. If you like the commodity, we anticipate that Bitcoin in the near term, it's going to break that 120K, possibly get into 225K, which is what HC Wainwright is suggesting. And here we have an analyst suggesting 350K for the Bitcoin price prediction, possibly soaring up to that price level. And what this analyst is saying is that Bitcoin can soar up 5 times the amount of Bitcoin mining costs. Costs for mining, that's attributed to like electricity that a miner would have to pay for. But that just shows huge potential ahead, not only for the commodity Bitcoin, but also for like Bitcoin miners. And in this case, Mara, who has a number one HODL count and has the fastest rate of production with Bitcoin. At one point, Mara is going to be able to continue mining until Bitcoin becomes depleted over a duration of time. It'll get harder at one point to mine Bitcoin, but overall, the final Bitcoin, according to Satoshi's plan, is to be mined in the year 2140. So we have about 120 years to mine what's available, close to about, less than 2 million Bitcoins. But as we get to that point where we're like at that last 10 Bitcoins to be mined, can you imagine how expensive that would be, the commodity Bitcoin? I'm thinking it'll be like double digits. It'll be like 15, 20 million per Bitcoin at that time, as we, scale out from the many decades from now. So what does that mean? Just looking at, a company like Mara here, I have just overall price targets. In red is where I have the support line. So current price, what we've realized is like, back in, December, we've seen Mara get up to that $30 range point. And now current price, it's dropped significantly, close to about 50%. I mean, what's happened here? I mean, just like from early December now all the way to like January, in the span of like 4 weeks, we've seen the price drop by 50%. But what goes down very fast is going to start V-shaping up. We did start, the opening of January on a good run here, going back up to $20 from the low point of like 16, which we saw in 2024. It ramped back up to 20. We had that, that cat bounce there. But I think, we're going to have that support ground. I have the support line drawn at 1620. I don't think it can get as low as 1620, but that's the worst case type of deal here. In yellow, I have a mid-tier level drawn here at like, $24. Eventually, we're going to see volume pick up. The relative strength index of Mara has been significantly oversold here. And I think that we're going to start seeing that upward trajectory getting back up into the $24. So we know that, we have about 1 week before that inauguration coming up, and Trump is going to really start making changes. And that's really going to add value for the North American companies here, especially small cap companies. And that's going to benefit companies like Mara. But I think this green line here is set at the prior resistance of $30. I think we can start seeing new waves coming in where in Q1, I'm anticipating that we're going to retest that $30 range, especially with the Q4 results, where the price of Bitcoin at that time priced at over 100K. That's going to be reflected in Mara's balance sheet with their overall HODL count. Let's take a look at, an article here. So we just heard that, the board of directors, they're trying to increase their ATM. So the ATMs in terms of authorized share to go from 500 million shares to 800 million shares. So what does this mean? So a lot of investors, even retail investors like us, we're worried because this would just mean dilution, and that would mean that the overall market cap would remain the same. However, with the increase in shares available, that gives the benefit for Mara to ramp up their strategic vision to expand their business, but the shares that we own, the price would go lower. And what does that mean? Our overall ownership of the company in terms of value goes down. So that's the risk that we worry about. However, I think that just with the amount of short interest that's grown with Mara, it's over 20%. And I'm thinking that we're going to see a potential short squeeze coming up here. We got to factor in the upside with price of Bitcoin soon to be breaking through that 200K. And as soon as we see that, we're going to see the price of Mara start picking back up. We scale out here, 5 year range. I know this is a zoomed out depiction here, but we saw that those heavy banana candles picking up here, extreme waves that we saw, right? And then we've just been seeing some small minor waves with Mara, but I think that because it's been dormant for so long, I think we're going to see some extreme waves coming here with some big time banana zone green candles. So that's my assessment of the technicals. I think that 2025, we can see that, you know, best case scenario, we can see this break through $100 is my perspective with Mara. And I actually dollar cost average down, took advantage on Friday as well. Let's take a look at overall just details on their production data. So Mara, close to about a week ago, they announced Bitcoin production and mining operation for the month of December. So what happened? They actually energized our hash rate by 15% up to 53.2 exahash. So they're the number one in terms of hash rate. They can mine the fastest when it comes to Bitcoin production. They increased their Bitcoin hodls to 44,893, and their Bitcoin yield per share went up to 62.7%. And one of the interesting things is also, having an improvement in their fleet efficiency, bringing down their overall cost to mine. Fleet efficiency now at 20 joules per terahash, but eventually it's going to get to like that high 19s. I think, in the next months when they announce their updates. But overall, their energized hash rate to 53.2 hash rate, 15% improvement over November. That just shows their overall consistency with mining. They actually mined 9,457 Bitcoins in last year, and they purchased 22,065 Bitcoins. Now, overall, showing their total accumulation of close to 45,000 Bitcoins. But that doesn't mean that they stop there. They continue to mine, right, every month, bringing in less than, like, let's say 1,000 Bitcoins per month. So overall, within a year, not including in or factoring the rise in the hash rate. Think of it as 1,000 Bitcoins per year, so about, 11, 12,000 Bitcoins, at the current rate that they're mining. But they will scale up in this year as well as potentially buying more Bitcoin. So I think that we're going to see Mara 2025. It'll be interesting to see what their initiative is. Are they planning to scale up their HODL count, really to catch up to companies like MSTR? But overall, I think this is where we are, and I think that in terms of the price, we can see some 3 to 5x potential with Mara here, and I definitely do think that it's extremely undervalued along with Bitcoin. Let's say if you're considering both commodity Bitcoin, Amara, but if it were to be investing, I would, really take advantage of the low prices with Mara, for example. But there you have it. I hope that this video was valuable. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the like, subscribe, and let me know what your thoughts are down below. Thank you.